And we're back. At some point during their lives, most children, most young people have been called a nasty name or been teased in school, and nowadays that bullying has gone online, and online bullying lasts forever. And as we know, unfortunately, in the last few years, it's actually led to the deaths and suicides of some people, gay and straight. Today we're speaking with Herman Chan about his campaign to stop cyberbullying. Herman, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Now, have you yourself been bullied? Have you ever been called a nasty name? Or?
Oh gosh, you got 3 hours, David?
Yeah.
I mean, as a gay Asian growing up, I mean, it was just horrible. But you know, historically, bullying has always been more kind of brute physical force. You know, it happened and it's over. But now with the advent of the internet, everything, people can cyberbully behind a blank screen and their fuzzy slippers at home.
Yeah.
And so now, like for example, you know, being a video blogger and a real estate personality, I'm not putting myself out there. You know, as a public figure, and you know this, David, you know, you're also a target. And there was one time that someone, I don't know who it was, but they were just slandering me and saying I was, you know, slept with half the city and I had, you know, spreading STDs on purpose. It's just really hateful things. And that was just, it was up there for years and years. And I had no idea that, I mean, that hurt me and I tried to look past it. But that stuff, especially with Googling and vetting people's employment, I mean, that stayed with me forever.
And it will stay there forever. I mean,
Yes.
what someone says online stays forever.
Yes.
But now you said something interesting at the beginning of this, as a Gaysian. Is that how you've always identified yourself, as a gay Asian male? I mean, you grew up in Fremont, California, correct?
Well, yes, local boy, born and raised, went to Berkeley. Labels, David, I don't know. I mean,
No, but I
Asian.
mean, did you know, I mean, come on, everyone says, you know, when did you know you were gay? I mean, did you come out of the womb, you know, waving a flag or what?
Yeah, I popped out with a bow with a tiara on my head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always kind of knew. I didn't have the vocabulary to necessarily elucidate it, but I always knew I was different. I always knew I was different.
And how did your parents deal with that? Did they, I mean, now we have cyberbullying, but when you were born, I mean, you said there was some brute physical force. Would people tease you in the neighborhood, at school?
Just a litany of awful names, and, you know, they call me Hermy Spermy, Herman, half her, half man. Just a whole host of little things that they would just throw in my face, little slings and arrows.
And how did you deal with that?
Well, I think I just was born with a very strong, resilient spirit, so I mean, it didn't really bother me too much. But I know friends who were just really kind of, you know, as children, you don't have access to drugs and stuff like that, but that stuff stays with you. And then as it goes harder and harder, and the words get meaner and meaner as you get into high school and college, I mean, I think a lot of people in our community actually resort to drugs and
think
sex
it does stay with you. I remember when, you know, when I was a boy, I was called Fairy Perry, and to this day, it's
That's
like,
kind of cute.
Yeah, it's kind of cute now, but you know, in Richmond, Virginia in the 1960s, it wasn't cute. And to this day, you can call me most anything else, but boy, that word, unless it's about a ship crossing the bay, fairy, well, that stays with me.
Yeah.
What stayed with you?
Yeah. God, what stayed with me? Just, I've always was someone who was just so in tune with who I was, David, and like all these people who were in high school who were in the closet would call me secretly at night and want to talk to me. I was like their therapist, essentially. And I always knew that I was a little bit of a activist, protector, ergo I went to UC Berkeley, can't help it. And so now that's why I'm back to this campaign, is that I really want people to understand that you know, to stick up for people who are being bullied, and not just bullied, but cyberbullied. And more importantly, to take responsible for your own actions as well, because let's face it, everyone at some point, you and I included, have said an unkind word to someone in our life.
In addition to having someone say something to us, we've done it ourselves.
Exactly.
Do you think that's hard for people to admit, that they've said something nasty and mean and cutting to somebody, no matter how enlightened we like to think we are?
Of course. I mean, no one wants to point the finger at themselves, but I mean, we're only human, and you know, I've had my fair share of things I've said, I'm sure, on blogs and forums and whatnot, but you know, I've taken a pledge with these bracelets from sayittomyface.org that makes me promise that I'm going to stick up for others who are being cyberbullied, and I'm going to be mindful of the words I say myself. And my inspiration really is Perez Hilton. I mean, he made a career on being very snarky.
The celebrity blogger Perez Hilton.
Exactly.
Who certainly was not someone that, you know, would have been known for saying nice, gentle things.
His whole
pretty snide guy.
His whole career was built on being snarky, and his images, and he would doodle these white, nasty comments about celebrities. But you know, he was confronted on the Tyra show, and she made him take a pledge about not being mean. And so that was years ago, and he's.
Do you think he's kept it up?
No, I mean, I follow his blog every day. He's very positive.
Have you ever met Perez?
No, I'd love to one day. Yes. Have you?
No, I've been written in his blog for a campaign I did. Kind of snarky, but it wasn't nasty. So
was it? Was it maybe hopefully before or after the?
Yeah. But talk
Glad you
about
took.
this pledge and the campaign. I mean, we
Yes.
know over the last couple of years that there have been cyberbullying attacks against a lot of people. And in some cases, it's led to young people, most notoriously some members of the LGBT community,
Yes.
being so frightened and appalled and horrified by what was said about them that then the whole school knew about and the whole world, that they took their own life.
Yes.
Tell us how this campaign was a reaction to that and what are the specifics of the campaign?
Well, the whole idea of it being an anti-cyber bullying campaign, I mean, the key word really is cyber, because we live in a cyber reality now. I mean, in the past, if someone called you a fag or something, it would just say it, God, no one heard it, and so be it. But it being on the internet now and things going viral with social media, things can just really pick up really, really fast. And it's really detrimental to someone. It's not that you just can't slide it off. You know, you have to keep reliving it over and over again. People start retweeting it. People address it on Facebook. And so we just want everyone to be careful about the things they say online and to stand up for those who are being bullied online.
Now, you have, you said a friend or a friend of a friend, a 10-year-old who was cyberbullied?
Yes, my friend Taylor Ardette, who started the campaign, the SayItToMyFace.org campaign, her sister was witnessing a lot of cyberbullying, and even, she's only 10, but even at that age, people are starting to understand the power of the internet.
And physically, where was this? Where was Taylor and her sister? Was this here in the Bay Area?
Oh, no, they're in LA. Yeah,
in Los Angeles?
Yeah. Taylor's actually a student at USC. Yes, so you know, Taylor just realized that you have to start them young. Yes, and the issue is that when she started talking about this stuff, and she goes to schools now, and they have posters to give to different elementaries to address the situation, she started realizing that this is just not children's an issue. I mean, people in college were coming to them as well, and even myself as an adult, I mean, I still get cyberbullied because, like you said yourself, you know, you were on this blog and people say things about you being public figures, you were targets. So it's something that we really need to do, because you and I think, and many people have strong opinions of themselves and can withhold it, but many people, like the guy, I think his name is Timothy or someone who jumped off a bridge because his roommate videotaped him having a tryst of some sort and broadcast it on Twitter or Facebook.
But do you think people take this seriously? I mean, we've all seen the movie American Pie, and there's that scene, you know, this is the very early ages of the internet, and this guy, you know, has a camera and he starts making out with this girl, and suddenly it's online and everyone in school watches it, and the way it's portrayed in the movie is, oh, that's kind of cute, embarrassing but kind of cute. But what we're talking about is behavior that leads people to jump off bridges.
Absolutely.
I mean, is there any way to stop it? I mean, right now, there's probably 1 million tweets going out right now saying all kinds of things. How do you put the horseback behind the
well,
barn door?
if I knew the magic bullet, I wouldn't be here. I mean, I mean, it's just this is the beginning step to raise awareness to it. I think it really is a function of humanity right now. I just think we live in a very snarky, jaded, cynical society, and because of the advent of technology and the advances of the internet, it just makes people so much easier and comfortable being mean. As for the solution to that, I don't know. I mean, I just think we have to go back to understanding that people's feelings are at stake, and if you are not strong, you can honestly hurt someone and force them to do things that'll, you know, be rather fatal.
Now, the campaign is SayItToMyFace.org. Say it to with the number 2,
That's
myface.org. And
That's
what are some of the components of the campaign? Is it all an online campaign? You mentioned a bracelet. Tell me about that.
Yes. Well, there's the pledge that people can take. You can go online also and order a bracelet and join our campaign. We also do flash mobs. We did one in LA. That was great. A lot of schools are also contacting SayItToMyFace.org for different posters and speakers to come talk about cyberbullying in schools.
Now, are you beginning to get a reaction from school districts? I mean, do you have principals or school administrators who say, this is a great idea? You know, if a teacher who's in his 30s or 40s says, hi, I don't want my students to cyberbully, they're like, yeah, you're just an old fogey. But if someone who is actually a member of the community being cyberbullied says this isn't cool, it has a different resonance, yes?
Yes, well, I mean, we're appreciative of anyone who reaches out to us. I mean, we don't want to label it for schools or for children or for colleges. I mean, it's really for anyone because who isn't on the internet now? I mean, well, I'm saying that like living in the Western world, obviously, but I mean, it's so prevalent now that we shouldn't just bracket it towards schools.
And what has been the response to it? Have you had any?
Oh, it's been great. The flash mob was just phenomenal. I mean, it's just, and it kind of works both ways. Like, you know, when you cyber bully someone, you're using the internet for evil, but you can also use the internet and virality for good. So, we posted something on Facebook and tweets, and people just started showing up for this flash mob, and it was just absolutely tremendous. People really want to come on board.
Any political figures?
Not that I remember.
I mean, would that be a sign of success for you if you had a politician who came on and said, you know what, besides, I mean, cyberbullying is not just something that affects young people. There are hateful things out there that ruin people's lives.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be great to have an elected official come and say, I'm going to take the pledge? Have you
Yeah,
had
absolutely.
any elected official
Oh, no,
take
that's
the
a great
pledge?
idea, David. I mean, we should start reaching out to those people as well. Anyone who wants to come take the pledge and be a part of this, we're more than happy to have them aboard. Because the more positive faces that we have, the better we're doing. Yeah.
Now, you said that you yourself have said some hurtful things online before, and now you've taken the pledge. Anything that you really regret? I mean, without repeating it, because you don't want to say something nasty about somebody, but
well,
you must
I have
remember the thing that made you go, I'm not going to do that again.
Well, there's one. I have a video blog. This is my claim to fame. I'm a real estate video blogger called Habitat for Hermanity.com, and I blog about different real estate sites and people like celebrities in their homes, and like Nicolas Cage is going through a lot of foreclosures, for example, for the past couple of years, and I've had some rather mean things about him and not being a good businessman, and I really shouldn't have said those things. I mean, like it's a foreclosure or crisis is something that everyone's going through.
But what was the moment that made you realize, just because he's a celebrity doesn't mean he's fair game? What made you go, I'm not going to do that?
Right. Well, it was just getting boring. It was getting boring, number one, and number two, I didn't feel good about myself. I mean, I got a laugh. I got some like nice little tweets about it, but ultimately, as I going through my old blog and I'm reading things, I'm like, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That ephemeral moment of, it's not happiness, but satisfaction when you hurt someone, it goes away really fast, and it's there. It's just on the blog forever, up there in the universe, and it just, for myself, I just wasn't able to really kind of sleep knowing that people were reading this and kids were reading this, and it just didn't make me feel good.
Now, that's still your business. You're in real estate. So this campaign for you is a labor of love or certainly commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are involved in this campaign?
Oh, we just started, so the more people can get on, hopefully, with doing more press like this, we can get people to join our cause.
Now, you said that you...
Will you take our pledge, David?
Of course I'll take your pledge. I mean, hey, I've had hate mail, it's, and you try to ignore it, but it's awful when you see your name and sometimes your picture out there, and you try to say that doesn't affect you, but it does, it hurts.
Yes.
And it is easier to get a laugh from saying something nasty and snarky.
Right.
I used to say that when I was in the theater business, that it's really, really easy to be a bitchy critic. It's really hard to be a thoughtful critic.
Yes.
Because bitchy things sound funny. And saying something thoughtful often takes a little thought.
Right. I mean, also being a genuine person makes you vulnerable in many ways. It's just like dating and love. It's like, when you're a mean person, that's a function of a wall oftentimes. But when you learn how to be kind and know how to watch your words, you're making yourself more vulnerable, and people don't like being vulnerable.
In our last few moments, tell me, what is the pledge? Is there an actual phrase there that people go on and say they're going to take? In
a nutshell, you're just going to stand up for people who are being cyberbullied and watch your own words and be mindful of the ramifications that you type and write.
And even though it is not just a gay-only campaign, certainly because of the PR and the publicity of the last few years, this is a way that those of us who have been bullied as members of the gay community can set an example, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all one people. I mean, like, I don't want to box anyone in. So, I mean, cyberbullying is cyberbullying.
Is something for everybody to avoid.
Exactly.
You've been watching 10%. I'm David Perry, and say it to my face next week. We hope we'll see you here. Thanks for watching.